Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Have you ever sent out an internal survey that receives a very low response rate? Are you tired and frustrated about the lack of data that you're getting? Well, don't worry and stick around, because what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you my top tips and strategy for handling internal surveys, so you can turn your internal surveys into gold mines of actionable feedback. So for those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Terry Nislow and I am your project mentor. I have more than 10 years of experience in operational excellence and continuous improvement type projects, and why I've created this YouTube channel is to share my advice, my experience, my hacks that I've gathered over the years with you guys so that you can take it and use it in your own projects. So let's get started and talk about internal surveys and how we can make them more effective. When working on a project, it's really important to gather data from many different sources. And one really good source of information is to gather data from the users themselves that are either going through the process or the ones executing the process. And one of the best ways of doing this is through the form of a survey. Unfortunately, one of the problems for sending a survey is that people generally don't like responding to it, myself included, and that is why it's really important to put a lot of effort and care into getting the survey up and running, and most importantly trying to get results from your internal users. And that is why I'm going to share with you my 4-step approach that I follow when gathering feedback from my internal users. The first step in my approach is to send an introductory email to the managers or the directors of the department. The reason why you're doing this is to give them a lot of context about the project itself if they aren't aware of it, but also to give them context of the survey that you're sending out. It's really, really important that you have their level of support so that they can convince their teams to fill out the survey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you an example of an email that I recently sent to the managers or directors of a department, explaining to them about the survey that I'm about to send out. This is an example of an introductory email that I would generally send to managers. I'm not going to walk you through the whole email, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight key points that I think is important to include. Firstly, what you want to do is you want to introduce yourself, and you also want to introduce the project or provide context of the project and why you are sending out the survey. Secondly, what you also want to do is actually you want to mention that you'll be conducting a survey, and you want to mention that you appreciate their feedback and you really request or need their support in sending out the survey. And lastly, what you want to mention is you want to mention how long the survey is going to take. What I have found is that managers are generally concerned with regards to their team's capacity, and if you mention that it's only going to take a few minutes of their team's time, they won't have any concern with regards to their team completing your survey. And then lastly, what I think is important to do is you really want to drive it home that their contribution will make a significant difference and improvement for your customers or the process going forward. This is really important, guys, because why we're mentioning all these things is because we're really trying to get the managers on board when it comes to setting up the survey. And all you're asking is for a little bit of support from them, and there's no need for them, or no reason rather, for them to be saying no to it. It's only going to take a few minutes of their time or of their team's time, and it's going to make a huge impact to their customers to help you improve the processes. So why wouldn't they want to help you? The second step in the approach to sending surveys is to send an email directly to the internal users. The reason why you do this is, again, very similar to the email to the managers. You want to explain or give them context of the purpose of the project, and you also want to inform them that they will be participating in your survey and you really need their support and their valuable feedback. Now, in this email, there's 2 important things that you really need to mention. The first thing you want to mention is how long it's going to take for them to complete the survey. Generally, when I send out a survey, it should take between 3 to 5 minutes. Anything longer than that, I already know that I lose people's attention and my attention even disappears. So I'm not going to ask my internal users to complete something more than 5 minutes long. The second thing that's really important to do or mention in this introductory email is where is the email or the survey coming from? What is the domain name that the survey is going to be distributed from? So that they're aware that it's not junk mail or spam or some sort of fraudulent attempt. So let's have a look at an introductory email that I generally send to my internal users.
The first thing that I'd like to point out is that we mention how long the survey is going to take. And the second thing that we mention is where the email is coming from. Now, I have created a fake domain here, but what I recommend you do is find out where your survey is going to come from and put that domain in this email so that your internal users know that when they get that email, it's not something that's spam or fraudulent.
So short and sweet, very similar to the first email, and this is something that I highly recommend doing just so that your internal users are aware that the survey will be coming to them. The third step is to actually go ahead and distribute your survey. I highly recommend distributing the survey either on a Tuesday or Thursday. Based on research, it shows that that's where you're going to get the best response rates. So that's what I follow. What I've also found that is really important when you put together the introduction in your survey itself is to sign off that introduction by either the project sponsor or the director of the department. It has a lot more gravitas when your internal users see that the email is coming from or being supported by the project sponsor or director. And another important thing in the introduction of the survey is you want to provide a deadline for completing the survey. I generally provide about 10 days for people to complete a survey, which is far more than enough time. But I allow 10 days because it also gives me enough time to start to follow up and remind them of completing the survey. Great. So you've sent your introductory emails, you've distributed the survey, and now you are sitting back and waiting for responses. The final step that you need to do is to follow up and remind your internal users to actually go ahead and complete the survey. They probably do want to complete it, but unfortunately the day gets busy and they have probably forgotten about it or they've just parked it on the side. Another thing that's really useful to do, if you're sending out a survey for a specific team, what I like to do is I like to get that team involved in encouraging their internal users to respond to the survey. Generally, the team will have a better relationship with the internal users than you do, and probably personal relationships because they work with them quite often. And what I do is I ask them to please be part of the team and help me encourage them to actually complete the survey. And I generally find by going through that route and asking them to follow up and be the rash, if you want to call it that, you generally will get a better response rate as well, as opposed to just one person following up when you have a whole team kind of following up and trying to get responses. So that would be my recommendation, to really increase that response rate and get some good numbers. So that is my 4-step approach to sending internal surveys and to get the best response rates from your internal users. So if you like this video, please click on the like button, or if you want to show your support, subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'll be sharing a lot more content about topics similar to this. And if you're interested in any of the email templates, just let me know in the comments below and I'd be more than happy to share it with you. And as I mentioned before, I am your project mentor. So if you're working on a project or would like to soundboard or brainstorm something with me or have a question, just let me know in the comments below and I'd be more than happy to help you. So until next time, see you in the next video. Bye bye.